For so many people, the Harry Potter series represents a place of comfort and fascination. Every single aspect about it is amazing, like the story, the characters, the set pieces, the actors, and especially the music. I mean, just take the first shot of Hogwarts in the Philosopher's Stone.
It's as satisfying to me as the coming is.
However, it's also a great source of inspiration and motivation. I think the actor of Voldemort, Ralph Fiennes, sums it up the best. J.K. Rowling has written these great books about empowerment, about young children finding themselves as human beings. It's about how you become a better, stronger, more morally centered human being. Honestly, I'm still amazed at how the absolute GOAT J.K. Rowling solely came up with basically an entire new universe. Even when Harry and his friends are bored and basically do nothing, it's still exciting since the world she created is so incredible. And speaking of Rowling, since I apparently live under a rock, I only recently found out about the controversy surrounding her due to the release of the highly anticipated Hogwarts Legacy. And in case you don't care about this topic, skip to this point, but I'd be really interested in your opinion on this, and it also won't be very long. Actually, I don't want to call it controversy, since I think it's a small minority that is complaining, however a very loud one. And I usually don't care about these kinds of things at all, since I think that we live in clown world, where everyone thinks that they're a special snowflake and so incredibly sensitive, which makes me ignore most of these public outrages. However, since I've always been under the impression that Rowling was quite liberal, I was really surprised when I heard that she's being labeled as transphobic, so I looked it up myself, and what really didn't come as a surprise, I couldn't find anything that would justify all the hate. Quite the contrary, I mean, just look at some of her statements.
Hogwarts will always be there to welcome you home.
What I don't understand is that basically all arguments about, for instance, whether it's okay to play Hogwarts Legacy or to still enjoy the movies and books, are about separation from art and artists, and whether it's morally acceptable to enjoy the art despite contributing to the artist's success. However, all these arguments imply that Rowling is in fact transphobic. Maybe I'm a complete moron, but according to my research, like pretty much always, nothing worth mentioning happened. At worst, some of her statements might have been perceived as a little insensitive, so I mean, come on, just look at her tragic life before her success, all her involvement in charity, or even just a few of her statements. I mean, how can you possibly hate this woman? And I would like to know whether all the actors who spoke out against her are truly convinced of that, or if they're just afraid of potentially damaging their career if not doing so. What's funny is that especially the adult actors and actresses defended her publicly, like the ones who played Hagrid, Bellatrix and Voldemort. This fact makes me think that this is yet another current generation special snowflake problem. And if the adults would have spoken out against her, I think it wouldn't be as bad, since all, or at least most of them, have already been established actors and actresses, so it's not like they basically owe their entire careers to her. Again, even though this isn't the topic of the video, I'd really like to hear your opinion on this, since as I've said, I've only recently stumbled upon this topic.
It does not do to dwell on dreams.
Anyways, many people say that to them the Harry Potter universe is a great form of escapism and to distract themselves from all the bad things that happen in their lives. Because, I mean, I don't think I have to explain why there's just something so comforting about the wizarding world. It's really one of a kind. With Hogwarts, especially children who feel like an outsider or who are maybe bullied finally found a place where they felt accepted and wanted. Especially the scenes when entering Diagon Alley for the first time really felt like you were literally entering a new world where you can forget all of your problems and get lost in the universe that Rowling created. And while it's of course a wonderful thing that children finally feel like they belong somewhere, I think especially for older people, escapism can be a little problematic, since I think that if you currently face a big obstacle in your life, then it's not the time to watch movies or play video games, but to actually face your problems and overcome them. And of course we won't be fighting evil Nazi wizards. But overcoming the hardships that life throws at us on a regular basis is what would be the equivalent to that in my opinion. And in my eyes, there are countless characters in this universe who represent this. Again, as Ralph Fiennes said, it's about how you become a better, stronger, more morally centered human being. Even though the story takes place in a fantasy world, there are so many valuable lessons portrayed, like facing your fears, finding happiness even in the darkest times, or the importance of family and friends, which might seem trivial, but still they're being more and more neglected since we think that our phones are more important than the people who are the closest to us. Let's look at Neville, who in the beginning of the series is bullied, has low self-esteem and seems to only fail, but has his heart in the right place. Through not giving up, he ends up being an absolute gigachat. Despite our first impressions, basically every single one of these characters had a hero inside of them. And then there's of course Harry Potter himself.
Retarded wizard in the forest.
Clinical psychologist and Professor Jordan Peterson has also often talked about the importance of Rowling's story.
Harry Potter.
Whether it's how he also was an unpopular bullied boy, how Harry has balls of absolute titanium and faces every fear imaginable, or that we all have evil and good within us. So this video covers how we can unleash the hero within us while looking at how the characters from the Harry Potter universe did it. Anyways, enough talking. So kings and queens, let's get started.
Okay, let's go.
Like Dumbledore said, everyone will die, but not everyone actually lives. I think this point is especially helpful for those who struggle with their self-esteem, think that they aren't really good at anything, and often feel like they don't even exist. In the Harry Potter series, there's so many characters who undergo a transformation that at first seem unthinkable. And like Harry said while teaching Dumbledore's army,
if they can do it, why not us?
as already said in the intro, Neville goes from insecure and low self-esteem to courageous, snake-killing and asking Luna out. For real, this guy who says
I'm hopeless
to himself ends up standing up against Voldemort in front of all the other Death Eaters. I love how he almost explodes and kills them right on the spot, and refuses to use the unforgivable curse on the first class, which most certainly led to a not so pleasant punishment. Then there's Hermione, who goes from always following the rules no matter what to this.
Sort of exciting, isn't it? Breaking the rules.
I mean, even though we all understand her initial attitude, we see that they actually even get awarded for breaking the rules in the first movies. And of course, this doesn't mean to always do whatever you want, as there are rules that are absolutely necessary and important. If Harry, for instance, wouldn't have followed all of Dumbledore's instructions, they maybe wouldn't have been able to get the Horcrux. I mean, it was a fake, but you know what I mean. However, when it comes to Umbridge and Dumbledore's army, we have the exact opposite. For real, the fifth movie is by far my favorite one, especially them standing up against Umbridge was so incredibly
satisfying.
Even Draco had his little redemption arc, from wishing that the Basilisk's next victim will be Hermione to not snitching on Harry, even though the Malfoys would regain Voldemort's trust, especially after this utter humiliation. I still can't get over how funny this scene is.
my lord.
And I know it sounds corny and that we're all special snowflakes, but I truly believe that every single one of us is good at something and that there is a hero inside all of us. Luna was considered to be weird by many and bullied, but her heart is in the right place, and she also ended up helping Harry more than just once, like finding him in the Hogwarts Express or figuring out what the next Horcrux was. Neville, for instance, could help Harry due to his love for herbology. Even Seamus blowing up everything ends up being useful in the last movie. Doesn't matter what's bothering us in our lives right now, whether it's our weight, our relationships, our fitness, our financial situation, we can always change, and it is never too late for that. Even the shyest person can become a fearless warrior if they consistently work on themselves. However, all this doesn't mean that everything is sunshine and rainbows. Neville, for instance, had to probably train the hardest to master the spells that Harry taught them. But again, everyone has what it takes to achieve their goals. Another aspect that these movies demonstrate is the importance of family and friends, and I'm aware that this point seems kind of obvious. However, these days people seem to really neglect this aspect in their lives and prefer being on their phones and playing video games, but I'll come to that in a minute. Stories like The Last of Us show that if everything is taken away from us, the only thing that matters is family. Harry Potter shows us that if you live in a magical world and you're rich, the only thing that matters still is family. And I'm aware that I kinda sound like Vin Diesel right now, but what can you do? In the beginning of the series, Harry lives with the Dursleys. And yeah, even though there is real family, they don't count, they're awful. And after he finally got his letter from Hogwarts, we see that he finally found a place where he actually feels wanted. Seeing how sad, lonely and angry he is in the beginning, but then how he almost immediately finds friends in Hogwarts is really wholesome. For real, I was always surprised how confident he is in the Philosopher's Stone, considering how he's been treated his entire childhood. I mean, he should have developed the most severe case of low self-esteem in human history. However, despite his new life, we still see him mourning over his parents' death. Also, when having to think of his fondest memory to fight the Dementor, he chose one where his parents were just talking. Nothing really special happened, but just regular talking. And despite all the things that Harry had gone through already, he still chose this memory. And this might be a hot take, but do you also think that the way Harry talks about his parents, even though he hasn't really known them, is a little, I don't even know what to call it, let's just say weird. I mean, he was around 1 year old when they died. However, the way he talks about them suggests otherwise.
My father was a great man.
Yeah? How do you know? To me, he seems like a... Anyways, I think the Weasleys are also a great example for this. Even though they struggle financially, they have each other and don't let themselves be discouraged from their circumstances. The main reason why I bring up this point is that wherever you go, you actually see people meeting up together. However, the problem is that they're constantly on their phones. Look at all these scenes, everyone is talking, laughing, eating and having a good time. So yeah, even though it sounds trivial, I'm dead serious. Please don't just spend time with them, but spend quality time with them. Because what could be more important than that? The last point that I'd like to discuss is how despite all of their circumstances, they still find happiness even in the darkest times. A scene that beautifully demonstrates this is in The Prisoner of Azkaban, when they try out sweets that make them sound like animals, but then we see the Dementors lingering outside of Hogwarts, which symbolizes the potential dangers they're about to face. I mean, there's so many other moments like this, like when they visit the Weasley twins' shop despite the Death Eater's recent attack at Diagon Alley, or when Harry and Hermione dance even though things seem to only get worse and worse, or the wedding in Deathly Hallows Part 1, wrong, even though I think this was a really stupid idea. And even if we can't find light in the dark, these times will also pass. Sirius had to endure 12 years of Azkaban. Harry was treated like shit for around a decade, and we can also see this if we look at Rowling herself. She was abused by her ex-husband, a single mother, unemployed, suffered from severe depression and had a miscarriage. According to Rowling, her child in writing got her through this time, and eventually she overcame all of her obstacles and is now richer than the queen and was able to achieve her wealth and popularity with her passion that had a positive impact on so many people. That is honestly some Rocky inspiration here. Again, I really don't understand how you can possibly hate her, but we've already talked about this. These experiences most likely have influenced her books, which makes them more than just entertainment and a way to unwind, but can be a source of inspiration and motivation to overcome all the obstacles that life throws at us on a regular basis. Anyways, thank you so much for watching the video.